Just let me know, Annette.
Okay. We are on.
Awesome. Welcome everyone to our council meeting for Wednesday, December 16th, 2020. It is in fact 5:30 p.m. and I'm going to call this meeting to order. Are there any additions to the agenda this afternoon? Seeing none. I have a resolution dated the 16th day of December 2020 that the agenda be accepted as presented. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Brent, seconded by Merv. All in favor? Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none. I have a resolution dated the 16th day of December 2020 that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on December 1st, 2020, as amended or presented, be hereby adopted. Are there any, can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Tim, seconded by Jack. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. I have a resolution dated the 16th day of December 2020 that the correspondence be filed. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Brent, second by Tim. Anything further on correspondence? Seeing none, all in favor? I have a resolution dated the 16th day of December 2020 that the 2021 water and sewer budget be accepted as presented with a 1.5% increase to the monthly water and sewer bills. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Brent, second by Tim. Anything further on water and sewer? Seeing none. All in favor? I think that was a great budget, Annette. He should be congratulated.
I will pass that on.
Yeah, and now we'll, okay, so now under new and unfinished, the council meeting schedule. Did you make those amendments, Annette?
There are amendments to it, yes. Sorry, bear with me. All right, they're highlighted.
Maybe if you could just send those out to us by email, that would be great.
Okay. Sandra, can you do that? You want that done right now?
No.
Oh, just after.
I'll do
We're not meeting till January 5th. It's fine. We all know January 5th.
Perfect.
We're good.
Good.
Don't make any changes. I bought my 2021 calendar and I've written all the council meetings in it.
So
That's old school.
But with the pencil.
All right. Anything further on our meeting schedule? Seeing none. All right. The 2021 council meeting, electronic or in person, and I'll flip this over to Brent because he's the one that put it on the agenda.
Oh, I was just pretty much, I think it kind of worked out pretty good here today, just as I measured it out, and I think we can do in person and electronic pretty easily, and but there is adequate enough space in here as well. I would just say keep it close to the public, but be accessible on YouTube like we have been. But if members feel comfortable coming in, then I think what we did today, it worked and it's feasible. And I think, but people are more than welcome to stay online if that's their preference. But I think there's adequate enough space in here for us to meet.
Yes, Jack, go ahead.
I just want to, since our committee meeting, I've already received 2 phone calls from people that were listening in on the meeting, and they said they were having difficulty hearing Tim and Brent. So if we're going to go in there because of our distance with the L, I would think we'll have to get mic'd up, because there's no sense in having a meeting if it's all broken up and people can't hear you. I've had 2 different phone calls already just between our meetings.
Well, I've had some difficulty. I've had some difficulty understanding Brent for sure today. And because of the way the owl works, I can see Brent right now and I can see Annette, but I can't see Tim. So that's of concern. And I'm just getting a note from Annette that I forgot to add the scatter resolution to the agenda. Sorry, Annette.
Okay. So oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Jack.
I was just going to say, if we're going to do that, then we realistically, we have to consider investing money in mics and stuff. So I just don't know if we want to do that at this time. I don't know.
I don't know.
There's no sense having meetings if people can't hear us. So.
Well, that was one of my concerns about the Eagle's Nest too. If we're going to be that far apart from each other.
Well, we can set in the room for the next one and see if it makes a difference. But I think I don't know, if people can go into offices or cashiers been working from the beginning, I think there's no reason why we can't come in the office and work as well. And people are more welcome to stay at home, then they can. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think we can set it up and don't have to spend a lot of money to do it. But no, like, I think a lot of it's like, well, watch the YouTube, see what we can change, and maybe we just have to reposition the desk and the owl. I know other townships have ran similar problems when they transition, or they have the barriers up and whatnot, but I think it's just a learning curve, but I think it's definitely doable.
Okay, I think what Jack is saying though, I get it. Like, if the council chamber would be big enough for us to spread out safely, but the problem is if people have been getting used to us on Zoom and we would not be able to be open to the public. That's been made very, very, very clear. So it would only be able to be us and our CAO in that chamber without masks. But I think if we had to wear a mask, that would be even worse for communication. But I'm just thinking that, like, right now, where the owl is, Annette, I don't know if you can see her, like, she's like this big. Like, we can hardly, she's teeny tiny. So you're like that kid in A League of Their Own, the girl that waves from the sidelines. If we had to be that far away from the owl, I see that as a bit of a challenge.
So prior to COVID-19 regulations, we did our meetings on the owl and they were quite up to par, so to speak. The YouTube videos are very easily able to watch and go back to and see. One thing I've learned in dealing in a meeting setting, especially when it comes to governing, is body language is more often it's more in the conversation than the actual conversation sometimes. So I work better on a face-to-face level. Prefer to do it on a face-to-face level. I really think that looking around the other business, basically, anything that I attend or see, people have been back meeting, doing their thing. Even question period in Ottawa was on. They're all doing their thing. So unless somebody is really dead against meeting here, I can't see why we can't, as long as we're 6 feet apart. If anybody can justify that. I mean, when I signed up to meet here in this setting in 2018. From what we're allowed to do from the province and otherwise, there's really nothing stopping us from doing so. And by all means, if anyone is sick, I don't suggest you show up. But if you're not, we've got the space. We can govern quite effectively and safely.
Merv, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I'm just, the size of Brett and Tim there, is that the size we're going to be if we go with the owl?
No, we'd be smaller because we'd have to spread out our desks into the
Well,
gap.
that's, I mean, yeah, I mean, here we're, with Zoom, we're kind of life-size. They look pint-sized on this. Is that what everybody's going to look like if we meet in the council chambers? I mean, I got no problem meeting in the council chamber, but what's the public going to see? Just a little guy?
So
You know,
the only thing I can see is
size
that
people like we see on Zoom.
if it's a partial meeting, partial inclusiveness here, it's probably going to end up as so. But if we're all here, we're all the same size as we were prior to COVID-19. We measured it out here. Is right now, he's almost 5 feet away from me. So my requirements is to move 1 foot this way. That's it. So it's not going to make that big of a difference. Brent and I are over 9 feet apart. So, like I say, that's up to you guys, but there's enough room, and Brent's got his measure tape with him. We've measured it twice. There's all kinds of room or real estate in the chambers to meet like we always did.
And I think for Hootie itself, something we could look at too is just see if if we're able to alter the pickup frequency. Sometimes it doesn't. I remember we adjusted it early on, but you probably can, so it could pick up, say, lower amounts or whatnot. There's no reason we can't play with it. It's technology. There's probably different frequencies or whatnot to work with. But I think it's worthwhile investigating, and obviously it's up to every individual, but.
So,
Yes, Annette. See, I can hardly, honest to God, guys, we can hardly see Annette.
And that's just a spec.
Yeah.
It's because we're all on Zoom, right? Like if we wouldn't all be this small on a YouTube if we didn't have four other pages up, right? So if we had 5 members here, there'd only be, say, Sandra in the office or 1 person at home. That's all we're saying. So when it comes to small screens, well, that's because we're on Zoom. If not, just be on YouTube.
Except Brent, you and Jack would have to move away from me, and then Tim and Merv would have to move even further back.
Right now, what is it there, Brent?
Well, from where my seat is, yeah, we're gonna have to rotate it slightly, but from like where my desk to you are, we're 6 feet. Like from where I'm sitting to you're sitting, you're 6 feet. From me to net right now, we're a little over 10 feet.
You're just about 12 from her now.
Yeah, so like from where, that's just from her center of her desk. So like there's adequate space in the Hootie we can assemble however makes the most sense, but there's no reason why.
I'm not saying there's not enough room, but again, we can't be open to the public.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a, it's going to be a bit of an issue for some people that will ask, well, why can you guys all go in and we can't come in? We have every right to come in. We're the public. But I think I saw Jack's hand up.
The biggest issue I think we're missing here, guys, is we got to make sure the audio is going to be good before we do this. Because there's no sense in doing this just for the sake of doing it if you can't hear the people when they're talking.
But Jack, if you couldn't hear me today, then why didn't you tell me you couldn't hear me? That's what I'm saying. If the audio was an issue for you today, then why didn't you ask me why it was an issue? That's my question. Like I remember.
But Jennifer already said there was an audio we couldn't hear you, Brent. So I'm not just going to harp on top of what Jennifer said. There was times we couldn't hear you.
Yeah, and I adjusted accordingly, and I don't take offense to it if you just ask a simple question. So.
Yes, Tim.
Well, like I said earlier, YouTube worked prior to COVID-19. The screen won't be the same. The people in the gallery could never ask questions prior to COVID-19, regardless. They can still watch us on the screen. The only difference is we're meeting in person like we always have, and we can safely do so. So there's really no difference from the audience's interaction because we didn't let anybody interject into our council or committee meetings prior to unless they were a delegation. So I don't see that as being an issue. And if we are all in the chambers, there's more than enough mic to go around, I believe, or I know there was some people that might have had a little hard time hearing before, but right now, from where my desk is, Brent, can you slide that tape over? I kind of clear this up. So anyway, can I see the butt end of that? Brent? We'll go to that seat there. We'll move the one beside it for we'll have a look there. So from you to Murph.
So 8 feet from here to.
So what's the center of your seat?
So you're 7 feet.
7 feet where he is now. So he's almost got a foot to spare. Now go from Murph's to Jen's. How far back does she have to go?
So you're 7 feet from.
You're 7
chair
feet
to
there.
chair.
So, and what about from Jack? Across?
So we're 9 feet from
They're
center.
9 feet. So even as the desks are now, we're almost there. So there's very little difference in the organization of where we had to move our stuff. I don't recommend if someone comes in with symptoms to feel like they're obligated if they're sick in any way, shape, or form to come in. Then we can set it up. But if everyone isn't under the weather, so to speak, I don't see any issue of why we can't meet as we had prior to the pandemic.
Well, nobody wants to be back in chambers more than I do, not only in BV, but also at the county. I mean, yesterday was a very strange inaugural, but I want to make sure that we're leading by example and that we don't have people thinking that we're too close together. We're not wearing masks. We don't have plexiglass, etc. But I'm open to whatever you guys want. To me, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. See, and now all we can see is Annette.
We scattered around. Usually we don't run around the room while we are doing our council meetings.
Well, it's the same as before. If no one talked on actual like Hootie, it just went to a full screen of the person talking if they did a long monologue or whatnot. So like.
So are you guys prepared when you stand up from your chairs to put your mask on, to use the washroom or get water or coffee? Because that's the rule.
Well, if we put it, well, I don't know, I'm following the same procedures we've allowed our staff to follow, so that's how I look at it. But if I can't go to the bathroom here, then I won't go to the bathroom, that's fine.
No, you can go.
Yes, Murph.
You're supposed to put your mask on before you go.
All right.
Yes, Murph, go ahead.
What would you think of leaving it for the month of January? We'll see what the COVID situation is then. And if everything seems to be stabilized after Christmas, we'll try it in February.
I'm fine with trying that. And if Tim and Brent are happy going in, absolutely, you fill your boots. But I do recommend that you have a mask with you and that you follow the procedures that Annette has put in place. Any other thoughts? Okay, so let's leave it like this for January and we will rediscuss at our January.
Last meeting in January.
Wait, okay, perfect.
19th.
19th, excellent. Yeah, and I mean, from your lips to God's ears, maybe something miraculous will happen. Maybe the vaccine will roll out faster than, expected. Who knows what's going to happen?
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens over Christmas. If families gather, if there's an explosion after Christmas, or just exactly. Hopefully, it won't. Hopefully, people will kind of.
Did Jack have an opinion on it? What's your thoughts there, Jack? Did I miss something?
My opinion is as long as the people can hear us, that's all. To me, I have no problem meeting in council chambers. I just want to make sure that we're heard. People can't hear what's being said, and there's no point in having a meeting if people can't understand you. So, I have no problems meeting in council chambers anytime. As long as we're mic'd up or people can hear us.
I'm just concerned if all hell breaks loose after Christmas. I hope it doesn't. And all of a sudden, there's numerous ones in the county, and we're all of a sudden having face-to-face meetings. That's just the appearance. But anyway, it's just my thought.
No, it is, Merv, and and the thing is like it's same as July 1st, August long weekend, back to school, Thanksgiving, Halloween, gonna be Christmas too. The thing is the same things have been repeated over and over again, and all I look at is that, you know what, we need to get, in my opinion, we need to get back to work. And yes, we're doing Zoom, but it can get a lot more accomplished, in my opinion, in person.
You did not honestly just say we have to get back to work. I've worked more during COVID than any other year of being mayor of Bonnechere Valley. I would ask you to retract that statement. Back to work. Oh my gosh. That's unbelievable, Brent.
Well, no, that's my opinion. I think, and we said this in our first 2020 team, we said business gets done better in person. And if we have the opportunity to get back in the chambers and get things done, then I think that we should. I said, if things change, then yeah, you accommodate your schedule, but I think we can set ourselves up for success. And that's how I look at it. Like, there's no reason. Like, there's no reason for us just to keep postponing something they're eventually going to have to do, and we're doing it reasonably. We have enough space here, and I think it's an appropriate stance to take, and especially budget this year. I think all of us want to be together when we do budget this year. It's a lot more productive. It's a lot better. I think it's ratepayers.
Well, I would just ask that we try Merv's angle on this and wait until our second meeting in January and see what comes out of it. But if I'm outvoted, I'm outvoted.
Well, no one's forcing you back to the chamber, Jen. We have the alternatives here. Like, my intention is to be here in the January 5th meeting, and carry it forward. I think we will leave it open to Zoom as well. Like, the thing is, there's no reason we can't do both in person. Like, I don't at home. A lot of us don't have the opportunity. Like, hey, I have kids upstairs. Yeah, I work for 8 months, but you know what? We need to come to the council office, in my opinion, and we're just back to work and focus the entire day, and that's how I look at it. But everyone has their own opinion. No, I think we have to look at the solution rather than just staying on Zoom. And you know what? Maybe COVID cases do go up significantly. Then yeah, maybe we'll have to alternate. But I think it's important for us to have a solution in place. And I think what we did today worked. I think it made sense. And yes, maybe if there is volume problems, maybe we have to adjust. We'll adjust accordingly, just like we have in the past.
Well, then I will leave it up to each individual to decide what. Yes, Jack, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just, we can continue the way that we did today. And therefore, then we'll see if the volume corrects itself, or if they want to tweak the hootie to try and improve the volume and see what happens. Because, and then it's only, like you say, 2 more meetings. So to me, it's no big deal. We'll just continue like we did today. And if Brent and Tim want to go in for the 5th, and we'll see how many complaints, or if any complaints we have, or if they want to try tweaking the owl and improving the volume, and whatever they can do. And probably software driven. If you get into the menus, you can probably change it, but I haven't looked at it, so I don't know. But I think that's probably the way to do it. Then everybody's comfortable with where it is right now, and Merv's comfortable, and that's my opinion. So
Okay. So we'll try this again on the 5th, and maybe our wonderful office staff could do a try-z with the volume on the hootie.
Sure.
Annette,
Mm-hmm.
who moved and seconded the agenda?
Brent and Merv.
Okay, Brent and Merv, are you okay with a friendly amendment to
Sure.
amend the agenda to include this resolution for Daryl SCADA system?
Yeah,
Sure.
that's no problem.
Excellent, thanks. Sorry about that, guys.
So, Paul,
Any further discussion on meetings?
So
Yes, Annette?
I just, if more people are coming in, so right now I'm prepared for Brent and Tim, and I think that if we move them to the same side of the room, so they're both facing the TV and Hootie, I think that's going to adjust some of the sound, because normally if you were all in here, you'd all be facing the owl. So that's probably what I'll do, but if there's more people coming in to the meeting on the 5th, if you can just let me know ahead of time, so we can have it arranged properly. Because then you won't be looking at the TV. Do you know, like if everybody was in here, nobody's looking at the TV. So then everyone's sitting looking at the owl.
But then what do we do about our staff? How are we doing it with our staff? Are we bringing them in?
So that's where the challenge is going to come in. And that's where, if we're bringing them in, you're not going to have them to get close enough to the Hootie to be able to heard, but maybe we just need one desk at the back with one microphone as opposed to multiple microphones, if that works.
Okay, yes, Jack?
The whole purpose in this, Annette, is we want to try to make it worst case scenario. So I think it'd make more sense for Brent and Tim to be sitting as far apart as what, if all 5 of us was there, and to make sure they're going to, because if you're going to optimize it for it to work for them, and then when we come in, it's not going to work. So the whole purpose in this, we want to test the owl. We want to test it on the worst case scenario, that they're going to be able to be heard.
Yes.
And then we can go from there, because
But everyone could be heard before because no one was looking at the TV. So the owl wasn't an issue before because everyone was sitting in a circle around the owl, facing the owl. The reason why it's an issue now is that Tim's facing the owl and the TV, but Brent's not. So if there's just the 2 of them, we would move them so that they're both facing the owl and the TV. But if everybody's in here, well, then we don't need the TV because everybody's in here.
What about delegations?
Yeah.
So the same delegations would have to be either the same way as staff, one desk at the back of the room. That person would have to be mic'd because they're not going to be able to get close enough to the owl. And we'll see if that works. If that works with Brent next week when he's facing the owl, then we know. The issue is you have to face the owl. So then the only person that would need to be mic'd is the staff or the extra person. But I mean, failing that, literally everybody's going to have to come in the council chambers with their laptop and get a headset.
And there again too, delegation isn't the worst either. If you only have one other page on with the owl, a delegation via Zoom isn't the end of the world either. And like I said, to each individual up to their own, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to correct.
Tim, we can't hear you.
What's
Sa-
that?
See, Sandra's even shaking her head.
They can't hear you
There you go.
because they're too far from the owl.
well, that's the problem you're going to have, right? So you're going to have to be mic'd if you want 5 people in there, because you're going to have to keep the same space.
That's right.
Everybody's going to have to be mic'd.
Okay. I thought
Sandra, could you hear
Brent.
Tim at all?
Well, the thing is, I believe when we first started talking, everybody could hear me and I haven't moved. So it's obviously another issue. My desk is at the exact same spot it was earlier today as it has been, other than 3 or 4 inches of owl movement. So
Well, now we can hear you.
I
I can hear him now.
Yeah,
But
they
we
can
couldn't
hear you now.
before.
yeah, see, and I didn't do anything, I didn't move.
You
So
increased your volume, Tim. You're speaking louder. Anyways,
it's only about half throttle just so far, so yeah.
yeah. But, so I don't know. I'm just, that's the biggest issue I have, is just to make sure everybody can hear everybody. That's all.
But I just got a text from on YouTube right now and they said they can hear me fine. So I'm not sure.
Merv, could you hear him?
yeah, now, but for a while he was faint, but I can hear him now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Technology is a wonderful thing, guys.
You got to realize, guys, this is just a hoodie. It's not top class. It's not a huge microphone pickup in it. It's something that's designed for close proximity. When you start taking it out, you can have anything be acoustic. Or a door could be open, I could change it. You know, the acoustics are very strange in a room like that. So unless you have a high-end mic, it's not going to work. So, but anyways, we can do whatever you want.
So one last thing, guys, before I shut this part of it on my conversation down. I know the mics are expensive, and no, I do not want to incur any more expenses. With that being said, if this is the way of the future, I can see, as Jen said earlier, maybe COVID 21, 22, who knows, COVID 25 might come on board too. Should we set up our chambers with microphones so that it is up to par with quality to do? Because let's not forget, we were some of the first out of the gate, and we were able to seamlessly transfer from chambers to home when this first all started, because we were ahead of the technology at that point in time. Is it something we should consider? Because I really don't think that a lot of this stuff is ever going to go away or back to the way it was prior to March of this year.
Yes, Jack.
In my opinion, Tim, I think you're absolutely right. If you come up with the placement of desks that give the allocated space that's required, I would suggest that we have somebody come in and see how much it's going to cost to mic this up. So at least we know what we're talking about, and then we can all come in.
Is this an expense that we should be utilizing some of this 230,000 for? But that would mean that Annette would have to source them in the next 2 weeks, because we have to spend this money fairly quickly.
Mhm.
But the reason why we were able to govern effectively throughout this pandemic is because we were proactive in the beginning. 2018, 2019, when we started going online, we started doing our YouTube stuff. We were ahead of the curve, so to speak, back then. And I'm just wondering if that style of thinking is where we should stay moving forward, so that we don't have to worry about getting caught behind it.
Listen, I'm open to buying some mics, especially knowing that our staff and or a delegation would have to sit fairly far back into the gallery. But we're also going to have to manage expectations of our public. Let's just have to remember that, guys.
And like I said, the public, the thing is, we're not crawling into a hole, and we're not turning it into one big closed session. The public never could interject in our council meetings prior to. So whether they're watching us at home on their couch, it doesn't change the way we govern. But if we're at home on our couch, it does affect the way I govern. I find I can be a lot more focused here. I can pay attention to what's going on, and I can do my job a lot more effective sitting at the desk where I've got this really cool name tag jammed in front of me. It's my way of being able to do my job better. And I don't know about the rest of the gang, but I think sometimes if we get cozy in our pajamas, sometimes sitting on the other side, that it really doesn't give us any reason to get back into the work. And if we can use an example of how, when we first started our restrictions at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, we started splitting up our office crew, and we started taking measures along that line. And the complaints that I heard was that they were not able to effectively do their jobs from home. And that was a repeated request that everybody could get back to the office as soon as possible, because it was a lot easier to do their job. And I know that now, because it's the same with myself. If I'm taking the day off of work to be at a council meeting, I want to be a counselor in the counselor chambers doing my counselor job. And it can be done remotely. I could probably do it from behind the wheel of my truck. The problem is I'm not as focused, and I don't think I can govern as effectively as I can sitting here at my desk with you guys right ahead.
All right, well, if everybody wants staff to source out some mics, I think that's a starting point for sure.
Yep.
Okay,
Because even right now, Tim, we could hear you fairly well through most of that, but at a couple of times we lost you. Unless that was just me.
And that's the problem with relying on electronics. We do that all the time, even at home. My friggin' computer freezes up, you freeze up, they freeze up, and that's where it gets distracting. You'll get right into the meat and potatoes of something, and then all of a sudden the screen freezes. Oh, hang on, guys, my internet's down, my internet's wonky. It happens to us all. And sometimes if we're on the right train of thought, it can get derailed and it can remove from the conversation. And that's why I would much rather meet in person.
Noted. Yes, Jack.
I have no problem meeting in person, just as long as we're mic'd up and people can hear us. That's all. That whatsoever. So,
Okay. So we'll do this for January 5th. We'll mic up Tim and Brent if they're in there, and we'll go from there. How's that?
I just got another text again on YouTube. They said they can hear me quite well. So it might be the connection with the Zoom. That was a total different entity.
Sandra, could you hear him through that whole thing?
Mostly, yes.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean that we lost you for a lot. For the most part, we could hear you fine, but then you dipped in and out. So I think I absolutely agree with Jack that we need microphones, 100%. Let's try and not break the bank buying them.
okay.
All right, if there's nothing further on that, thank you to the mover and seconder on the agenda. I apologize, guys. I have a resolution dated the 16th day of December 2020. Whereas the manager of water and sewer deems the purchase of new hardware and software to upgrade the current SCADA system necessary to prevent the disruption of work or service to the public through a sole source at the lowest obtainable price as per Part 5, Section 4 of the Procurement Bylaw 2019-60. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Bonnechere Valley approve the purchase of the SCADA upgrade from Capital Controls in the amount of $52,898.71 plus HST. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Brent, seconded by Jack. Anything further on the SCADA system? Boy, that windfall of money couldn't have come at a better time, eh, Annette?
That's for sure.
All in favor? Resolution dated the 16th day of December 2020, that bylaw 2020-070, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be read a first time, be deemed read a second time, be deemed read a third time and passed. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Merv, second by Brent. All in favor? Which brings us to the last meeting of Bonnechere Valley Council for 2020. It's been a weird year. Let's all hope and pray for a better 2021. And, it sounds like we're all anxious to get back in there, but safely. But man, oh man, I think that we've done a really good job of making the best of this year and what it's become. So I know I'll see all of you on Friday at our virtual Christmas party. Think of things that you'd like to say to the different groups that are going to be joining us. I'm not sure how many people will log on, but at least we're doing it as a thank you and an appreciation to our staff and our volunteers. This is not just a Christmas party, it is an appreciation party. And I'm certainly gonna miss it this year. It's one of the nicest times to come together, 200 of us who all try and make the Township of Bonnechere Valley a better place to live. And so I know I'll see you all then, but until then, yes, Tim.
I'm just wondering now, is it all right to have our spouses on with us during this duration of this party?
I was going to.
Okay.
I just assumed that we would.
Okay, no, I just thought of that. I didn't know if I could include my lovely wife in this whole party, So,
Oh, boy.
yeah.
I never even thought to have that put out in the, I think though that the people that join us will. I hope.
Just as clarification, because I don't think that was part of any discussion, and it just popped in my head.
It never occurred to me because I just assumed it. Because we bring our spouses to the Christmas party.
That's right.
Interesting. Well, as people log on, we could invite them to bring their spouse on if they're not. Like I know in the EAC Zoom meetings, Brian and Marg Weckworth are together and Joe and Diane Moore are together. So I would assume that they would log on like that. Anyway, as they log on, we can invite them to bring their spouse on if their spouse isn't with them. But definitely, guys, yes, I think, sort of like we're sitting at a table at the Eagle's Nest with a glass of wine and none of that peanut butter whiskey.
It's all gone anyway, so yeah.
We need something to toast.
Yes, definitely. So I'll suspend the rules of Zoom for that night, and everybody can have a glass of wine or a beer or their drink of choice, because I know Zoom apparently does not like people having meetings and drinking. Apparently that was one of the protocols that they asked people not to do, or look like you're drinking, like out of a red Solo cup.
If you blow on your wine while you're drinking it, it kind of looks like you're cooling off your tea, Jen.
What's that?
I said, if you blow on your glass of wine, right, while you're drinking it, it looks like you're having tea.
Oh, so you want me to drink my wine out of a mug?
Well, I think Merv does.
Well,
He even blows on it the odd time to make it look authentic.
yes, yes.
Our last meeting, I think Sarah handed Jack a drink that looked extremely tropical. And I made fun of you. I was going to say, is that like a Bahama Mama? Like it was all dressed up. I thought maybe it had an umbrella in it. Very fancy. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you all so much for all of your hard work this year. It's been a tough one, but at the same time, I think we've made great strides and we've learned a lot. And let's just pray and hope for a much better 2021. So at that, I have a resolution dated the 16th day of December 2020 that the council meeting be adjourned at 6:13 p.m. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Tim, seconded by Jack. All in favor? And we are adjourned. Thanks, people.
See everyone Thursday evening or Friday evening.